We need more plain text. What do I mean by that? Well, I wrote an article on my website and I was going to try to make a big flashy video and really dazzle you, but instead I'm just going to talk through my article because I don't have time to do the flashy video thing. So let's talk about plain text architectures and my thoughts on it for what it's worth. Basically, I'm just saying that if people host a SaaS that has software on it that you're using, such as Duolingo, Intuit, QuickBooks, things like that, things hosted elsewhere, you are losing out on a lot of potential power over your computing. However, there are alternatives such as Ledger, which is a plain text accounting software, so that could potentially be an alternative to Intuit QuickBooks. And look, it stores everything in plain text files, and these are files, well actually this is an output, but basically it stores everything in a way that you could write your own scripts to parse it if you wanted to. The data is 100% yours. The program Ledger is just something that parses your data and does something useful to it. So you can easily replace it with your own. Easily being the operative word, maybe not easily, but you can do it, whereas that's not possible with SaaS. So where we are now, lots of things in the cloud. It's basically the norm to have a SaaS. So basically it's possible to automate things with Selenium if you want to, but it's a little bit difficult and it takes a while. I have previous videos about how you can do this with Duolingo, but it takes a whole lot of manual effort to do that. And some other things that are better are things that run locally, like FL Studio or Adobe Premiere. By the way, Shotcut's a good alternative to Premiere if you're looking for a free one. And these two apps store their data in proprietary blobs. So basically they have developers who are experts on this software and wrote these very specific binary blobs for these programs, and it's useless to anyone else. You can't read it with your own eyes or anything like that. So I think we can do better, and here's my little proposed architecture. I'm not sure how great it is, but basically it's data centric. You start by defining the data format that you want, come up with some samples of the things that you would store. For example, for a DAW you would store, the song information, the tracks, all that different stuff. How would you store that in YAML? How would you point to files? Things like that. I really think everything should be YAML or JSON. From there you can build a CLI, which is nice because you just have to use the terminal. And from there you can start building a desktop app using Tari, which we'll get to, and you can build a server. And this desktop and the server will link into some of the same hooks to create objects and manipulate files as the CLI. In fact, they could even invoke the CLI, although that might be a little messy. And then from the server, you can create a web interface and the mobile app. Now, how would we do that? Well, you start out with the data, just like before. And I'm going to get a little opinionated here and say, I'm not great at Rust, but I think it's really cool and it has a lot of potential. So I think if you did the CLI in Rust, I recently discovered Tari, which is a Rust library for creating user interfaces, desktop apps in Rust, and you can actually use any JavaScript front end you want. So you can use Next.js with Tari, that would be my preferred stack, and then this can tie into the same code as the CLI, just like before, and then the server, you can just do Next.js and Rust in the background somehow. Tied, basically the server will make calls to this same Rust code base on behalf of some remote user. Now, who's that remote user? Well, Next.js actually rolls with the front end and the back end. So just by using Next.js, you also get the front end bundled in. And that's just a static website, just like this one. And then from there, all you need to do is drop in Capacitor into Next.js, and that gives you a mobile client. And both the web and the mobile will interact with the server in the same way, mostly. So basically, this is my little pyramid of order of implementation of things. And I think if we did this, there would be a lot more plain text applications out there that are good and useful. And the point of this is I'm envisioning a future where people actually self-host things themselves. Like, it's commonplace to do that. Right now that's very complicated, difficult, and there's not a lot of software that allows you to do that. But if you've never heard of sync thing, it's really awesome. It syncs files between servers and things like that. So if everyone had their own server and hosted sync thing on it, then you can outsource the whole file syncing thing. This CLI will just be manipulating files on your file system. This sync thing will keep track of moving it from your server to your laptop back and forth, backing it up while helping with the backup process, and then you're good to go. So basically this is all just going into detail of what I was just talking about. And then I was just saying that if we want regular people to be able to host this, let's just stick with Docker Compose. Kubernetes is pretty complicated, but you could slap together a Docker Compose script for one of these things ASAP. no problem. So I want to do this for some of my projects I've been working on, KeyDo, Plaintext DAW, and things like that. But we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Let me know your thoughts. If you think this is an interesting idea. Yeah, if you have any constructive criticism, things like that, let me know. There's the Discord, which you can find a link to at the bottom of my website here. And that's about it. So just wanted to share some thoughts, and I hope it was interesting for you. Let me know, and thanks a bunch.